All right, we're live. So, welcome to another Run Wild with Us. Ask Us Anything. I am Lisa Kastner. I am the founder and executive editor of Running Wild and RIZE, and I'm here almost every week with some of my favorite people, including Peter Wright and dun, dun, dun.
Hey.
You guys have like this like mystical power. It's like the second that I like hit the go live button, you suddenly appear. I'm impressed. I need to learn how to do that. That's kind of cool. So you guys, anyone who's watching, you are here with us every week, or we're here with you. I don't know, whatever. Where this is your opportunity to ask us whatever the heck you want. You can ask us anything about publishing. Why is Ben bald? I'm just kidding. Although, hey, you never know. Maybe he's into it. I have no idea. Um, whatever you want, just go ahead and put your questions in the comments section. And what happens is I will repeat the question, and then we basically do a round robin of answering each one of those questions. So with that, I'm gonna take a step back and say, "Hey, so Peter, how you doing? What's new? What's going on?"
I'm doing good. Just 2023, just getting stuff done. I'm seeing I got a lot of projects ahead of me, which is really cool.
Mm,
Just kind of getting working through it. Nothing interesting as of yet, but this month promises to be a very interesting one. So I'll let
cool,
you know as it happens, as it unfolds, as it were.
awesome. And how about you, Ben, with the exclamation point? Ben.
You
From
can't
now
you
on,
can't
I'll say your
contain
name.
me. You know this. You can't contain me.
I cannot. I cannot. Nope. You
But
make stuff happen, man.
a lot of projects coming down. A lot of editing opportunities, and then another round of selection coming up here in March. So anybody listening, get that novel in for the next round of selections.
That is true. And if you are someone who has already submitted something to us, just be aware that we're actually not going to be reviewing anything, to Ben's point, until I believe it's the end of March. And that's intentional. So just be aware of that. I literally got an email all of 2 hours ago, if that, from someone who received an offer from another press, and I just let him know, hey, I think it's phenomenal that you were made an offer. Be aware we're not actually going to be reviewing anything until like end of March. Also be aware we honestly have a full slate through 2024 for both Running Wild and Rise, and in part for 2025 for Running Wild. So if you've got an offer from a press that you are really hot on, then I suggest go for it, right? If you were really hot on us, then thank you. That's huge. That's tremendous. We really appreciate it. Just be aware that the potential timeline associated with your work coming out. Also know though, like let's say you are assigned an editor and you're working with that editor, and you guys get it done in some, like, you're initially slated for like 2025, and you're finished editing by some miracle, let's say tomorrow, then most likely what that means, our production process usually is around 2 to 3 months, and we have to have everything into our distributor and manufacturer anywhere from 9 to 12 months before the actual publication date. So if by some miracle you get everything done again tomorrow, which means most likely the cover, the interior, everything, all the meaty stuff, other than the fantastic story that'll come out, is done by, let's say, mid March, then most likely your book would come out after sometime after mid March in 2024. So it would bring it forward in terms of timeline within the catalog. So just again, just be aware of that. I just don't want anybody, because every once in a while we have someone who wonderfully, excuse me, signs up with us, and the book gets done, and then they go, wait, what do you mean it's not going to come out until 2024? What the heck? Or, 2025. And they get really upset. And I just don't want anybody being upset. So anyway. So Ben, how was your New Year's?
It was quiet here at the house. It was like was that Saturday evening? Yes, the New Year's Eve was Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sunday, I've got some fighting off some kind of disease, but but just the house. The house is diseased.
What do you mean, Ben?
Thank you. What do you mean, Ben? So does this mean it's not COVID?
We're such a close knit family. We share our diseases.
So does this mean like everybody has something like the flu, but it's not COVID? Is that what that means?
Something like the flu. It's not COVID. We had that last year. That was so last year.
That's been done. Anybody can do that.
Yeah. But this year was that RSVP. We RSVP'd for RSV or whatever it is.
Oh boy. At
least
you guys
I don't have any infants anymore.
Well, that's true. How about have you guys all gotten better yet, or?
Oh yeah, we're
you've done that.
Our way out. we were going swimming in the mornings. My wife and I were going swimming in the mornings, and Define Fitness closed our pool down because they were moving it. And so, okay, we'll just go a little farther down the road to the pool. Mm-hmm. But the problem is they haven't opened the pool yet. They've opened the gym, but not the pool. So I think that's what made us all sick. We weren't working out.
Actually, I totally get that. Believe it or not. Yeah. Yep.
It shakes up your routine.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That makes sense.
Your body says, oh.
You say, Ben! And your body went, oh. Nice. How about you, Peter?
The school semester starts up on Monday.
Oh, okay. And you're about to get knocked out with all the students that you have to work with, huh?
Yeah. All the stuff I should have done on the break, I didn't do.
Oh. So what?
Yeah.
So I'm supposed to follow that.
I know, right?
We didn't do any pool hopping. We didn't go to the gym. We just kind of hung out, took care of some stuff around the house. Very, very boring stuff. Unfortunately, we saw the ball go down in New York and counted down to 2023, and then promptly fell asleep. So
that
I never thought I'd get to this age, but here I am, and not so bad.
Yep. Well, I'll be honest. All I did, I basically got a champagne sampler from Costco and some junk food that I never eat. And I just hung out. I didn't make it to midnight. I basically passed out somewhere around 11 and then woke up around 1 and went, oh, it's 2023. and my cat was like, and you need to pay attention to me, just like she's doing now. That was it. So you both had much more exciting times for the New Year's Eve. So Rod Gilly says, bummer, there's no wizard hat. I'm assuming we're talking about Ben.
Yeah, I was supposed to wear the wizard hat. I just remembered.
Oh, well, you can go get it if you want. I'm not gonna
get the wizard hat, Ben.
Go get the wizard hat. He's also said,
I should have one.
You should have one. What's wrong with you? He said,
hat.
He said, I'm guessing Ben's glad to see me here. And he's between meetings, so he's got to go soon, but he was hoping to return before the show ends. Oh, yeah, that would be awesome. We'd love to see you, Rod. Dawn McIntyre says, Happy New Year. Caroline says, I can't wait. I can't stay long, but I wanted to know how you all are and about your holidays, and Happy New Year. So we covered how we did on our New Year's Eve, and all of us were not exciting except for Ben, who was miraculously ill.
Which is really sad.
Ben. But we didn't cover. I don't even know. Like, does if everyone here, whatever Christmas or your equivalent of Christmas is, what'd you guys do for that? We'll start with Peter, just in case Ben somehow goes over the top.
In case, yeah. It was quite cold here in Florida. I'm in Northeast Florida now, and we thought it was going to get down to the 20s, which it did. So we hightailed it down to Southwest Florida, where my outlaws live, and spent Christmas with them, which was really fun. And then came back to even colder weather up here, and that's about it.
Oh, sounds good to me.
Freaking boring, aren't I?
No, that's awesome. How about you, Ben?
There are some families that celebrate Christmas by leaving their lights up till Easter. You know who you are.
You mean you?
There are some who wait till tomorrow is Three Kings Day. The Epiphany is the 6th of January, old Christmas, the old Orthodox Christmas. But we are not one of those families.
Oh.
As soon as December 25th is over, so is Christmas, and everything comes down and back in the box.
Boom.
Which is really cool. We don't drag it out. But the good news is Walmart will be ready. They'll bring everything back out in July, so it'll kick back up. But
there you go.
We were through by midnight on the 25th. Christmas was over.
The trees up by the curb and everything.
Yeah. Everything. Oh wow, that's impressive. I used to celebrate Three Kings all the way through junior high. And then after that, I think it was more so based on where it was located in terms of school that everyone celebrated Three Kings Day. But I celebrated Christmas by having my ceiling fall in during a massive rainstorm. And I have since been celebrating the holidays by debating, not on my part is this intentional. It's clearly intentional on the part of my insurance company, whether or not my roof should be tarped, because they're not convinced the ceiling falling in has anything to do with a rainstorm, even though the only time it rains in my living room is when we have a massive rainstorm. So I don't know. So now I just basically take videos of it raining in my living room, and then I send those videos to the adjuster, to the insurance company, and to the mitigation company. And I'm like, so look, it's raining again. So I literally did that this morning. And I'm like, hey, look, or actually yesterday morning, it's raining again. After having 3 years of drought here in Los Angeles, we are now having rainstorm after rainstorm. And I would really appreciate it if you could, by some vast miracle, actually tarp my roof. So far, the mitigator and the adjuster agree that the roof needs to be tarped, but the insurance company says that they're not convinced, and therefore that's why I can't seem to get it tarped. So now the mitigation company and the insurance adjuster are trying to convince the insurance, or the mitigator and the adjuster are trying to convince the insurance company to approve it, so that I could actually not have it rain in my living room while we're waiting for all the approvals to come through, so I can actually get all this fixed. So although this drama would be amazing in some kind of like story, because it's like, sitting there and staring at your ceiling waiting to see if more of it's going to fall in, it's not really a whole lot of fun in real life. So I'm just putting that out there. it's fascinating, but it's not really like one of those where we're like, yay, I want this to happen. Woo! Mm-mm. Nope, nope, nope. Ooh, so all right, guys. Does anybody who's watching us, this is just a reminder to go ahead and ask us whatever questions you want. You can do so by just popping those questions into the chat. And again, we're more than happy to answer them. We do a round robin, and each of us takes an opportunity to respond to the questions that you so provide. And again, you can ask us whatever the heck you want. So we're going to have the review of all the full-length submissions for both Rise and Running Wild end of March. I just started editing our novellas, and I think Ben just finished the short story anthologies and just started reviewing for the next short story set of short story anthologies. I just finished the Rise anthology, and I'm about halfway through the Running Wild novella anthology. So it's really, honestly, it's kind of cool because the stories are really, really diverse. I mean, they're completely different writing styles. So it should be a lot of fun when this gets into your hands. I think you guys will have a good time. I also got a call to speak at a writers conference in I think it was Memorial Day, maybe something like that. Memorial Day weekend. So that should be fun. It's in a B&B that's haunted. So I was like, great, we can make writing prompts out of the hauntings that occur while we're there. Which actually I think she was into that, but I'm not sure how many people who will be attending it would actually be into that. So we'll find out. So
if falls in, we know it's your fault.
Clearly, because obviously, if the roof falls in anywhere, it's going to be my fault. Yeah. So, Caroline says, Lisa, you and I could collaborate on a series of house insurance stories. I bet we could. You would be surprised the number of people who have reached out to me since this happened to share their insurance nightmare story. Like, one dear friend of mine told me about how it took a year for the insurance company to finally approve to have repairs done after their roof had been damaged, like severely damaged during a tornado, I think. So although it is comforting to know I'm not alone, it's also not comforting to know that this is how insurance companies behave. So, Rod Gilly says, I remember the days when we got excited and bolted to the door to go play in the rain. Yep, I'm old. Didn't have video games when I was a kid. We did that too. Same thing with snow. We would go out, run out there, and I remember Pac-Man too, but that's a whole nother whatever. And I remember when Pac-Man was new and they were trying to sell Pac-Man as like a movie. So go look that up. Don McIntyre says, I heard of a bookstore that refused to stock a book, but offered to accept it on consignment. Oh, that's interesting. Which would cost the author $100. What? Yes, cost. Your thoughts. Let me say this again. So I heard of a bookstore that refused to stock a book, but offered to accept it on consignment, which would cost the author $100. Yes, cost. Your thoughts. Let's start with Ben, just because I can.
Yeah, I think well, there's, on the one hand, it's good to have your book on display anywhere, but when it comes to when you're calculating a break-even cost of how many books you have to sell to recoup that $100 to get it back, if they've got enough business in that bookstore and it's a popular bookstore, maybe you've got to do the business analysis on that end of it. to see, well, that foot traffic coming through. I've got enough confidence in my book. It's a great story. Once I get it in the hands of a few, it'll get in the hands of many. And so if that's what the analysis says, yes. If the analysis says there's got to be a better deal somewhere with just a reading, and sell the book out of a box at a reading, that's an option as well on your own. So I think it's how much confidence the author has in the book, what bookstore it is, and could you do better just working on your own, like off the back of the truck.
I don't know. What do you think, Peter?
I was going to say that too. I mean, is the bookstore going to let them do a reading? Are they going to let the authors promote the work, promote the book beyond the point of putting it on a shelf and hoping people notice it? I mean, how much attention are they going to draw to this book so that the author is at least compensated for the money they have to outlay in hopes of book sales? So is it a quid pro quo? Are both sides going to be putting something in, or is it just the author?
No, these are all great. So we've now been around since 2016, and I've seen a lot of different models. Now the most common models that I have seen are, I know a lot of independent booksellers and also large booksellers that they refuse to pick up a book unless it is actually being offered through a what's considered a primary or a major distributor. And what some of them are doing now is in lieu of that, or in light of that, like a Barnes and Noble, your local Barnes and Noble, at least this is how it was pre-COVID. I don't know if it's still true. What your local Barnes and Noble used to do is I think it was on a case-by-case basis. You could submit to them your book if you were not with a major distributor. And you could give them the synopsis, the log line, the reviews, blah, 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 give them an advanced review copy and ARC, and say, okay, I would love for you guys to pick this up. And what they will do is they would then have a section within the Barnes and Noble, if the quality was high, that would represent all like local independent authors. That's how they put it. Now, that model has as far as I'm aware, Barnes and Noble did not charge the author to do that, right? But the author did have to actually supply the physical copies. That model, I think that's fair, right? Give the bookseller an advanced copy, and if you can, right, give them this is how I'm marketing the book. This is where it's represented. Here are all the reviews it's gotten. Here are all the blurbs it's gotten, so forth and so on. So they can see that the author is actually doing work towards, to Peter's point, right, to get it visibility so that it gets out into the world. I don't think that saying you got to pay $100, I mean, that's basically like a placement fee, right? That's like when we went to San Diego Comic-Con or Comic Fest, we shared a table, and someone was generous enough to share their table with us, one of our authors, actually, Tone Milazzo. Now, we didn't have to pay for the table, but the majority of the other retailers did. And that is actually common. Like when you go to an LA Comic-Con, you go to a Comic Fest, that whole room full of different retailers and product owners and so on, they all paid for those tables, right? And so that I understand. And it sounds like what that bookseller is doing is they're using that model and saying, you are going to pay me $100 to be able to physically have your book represented within my store. Now, going back to Ben's point about, well, what's the quid pro quo? I've seen things like this occur, and it was very effective because the bookseller, they actually also promoted it, right? Like you weren't just providing the book and you weren't just paying for it, but the bookseller was giving you an opportunity to do a reading. It was being promoted as like, hey, check out these, like I was saying about Barnes and Noble, check out these local authors, right? So they were helping things be brought forward. But if this is something where literally the author's being told, you got to give us $100 and we're not going to do anything about it. And by the way, this is going to be basically put in the back of the store and no one's going to see it. That is not cool. That I don't see the benefit in that. Now, I also know that a lot of this in today's market, so much our most successful authors have been authors, and not just our authors, but authors in general that I'm like friends with, and different publishers that I'm friends with as well. These are people who have gone that extra mile, both to Peter and Ben's point, that they have built relationships at conferences, at bookstores, with different different publicity opportunities, whether it's like the Horror Writers Association, the Bram Stoker, the Horror Writers Association's annual conference, right? Or with the Association of Writers and what is it? AWP is Association of Writing and Writing Programs, I believe. They have taken the time to get themselves out there so that their names are known, not just in the writing community, but also among readers. And if this is something that can help you build your reputation, and even if you don't make a lot of sales, but it's getting your brand out there, it's getting the word out, then it's getting the word out among those who are influential, then yes, it is absolutely 100% worth it. Because again, to both their points, these are people, like, let's say you go to the American Library Association and you get a table, or you get a part of a table or whatever, right? And either you sell your book or you're giving it away. These librarians have a crap ton of influence, and you want to become their friends. I mean, plus they're cool people. But you want to make sure that they know who you are, and that they know and are aware of your books and the kinds of stories you tell and where your tushy's going to be. And you put it out there that if they like you, or if they like your stuff, that your tushy would be happy to show up sometime, right? So that is my incredibly long way of elaborating on both of their points and saying it depends. Rod Gilly says, we should all get together and dance around Lisa's living room during the next rainstorm. Amen. I think it's tomorrow. You can come on down. We'll just have a blast, and then I'll cry in the corner and pray my ceiling doesn't fall in more. Don McIntyre says, this is hard to believe, right? About the paying a bookstore for having a placement. She says I've had a store refuse to stock mine because it's not available from Ingram. I've actually, so Don, what you can do, when we first switched from Ingram Spark as our distributor to Small Press United, which is a subsidiary of IPG, when we went to that a couple of bookstores about that, and at first they said, oh no, I can't pick you up because you're an independent press. And I said, do me a favor, look up our stories, like look up the ISBNs, right, which is basically the barcode, that number on the back of each book, and see if it's listed. And when they did and they found it, they were like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I can pick you up. The reason they make that comment is because Ingram has a database that all the booksellers, that's how they buy the books, right? So if you come to them and you say, oh yeah, I'm using this print on demand distributor or something like that, they're going to say, oh no, I can't pick it up, because they believe it's not available through their distributor. But if you let them know, like, well, although we're not with the broader Ingram, but they have actually a partnership. My distributor has a partnership with Ingram. Here's the ISBN. Here's all the key information, the book name, blah, blah, blah. And they look it up, and then they'll say, oh, yeah, no, okay, yeah, I can pick that up. So just to be aware of that. All the major distributors, they have deals with one another. So like Penguin has its own distribution. It has actually several distribution arms, and they all have a partnership with Ingram. But the primary database that they're purchasing the books from, it's Ingram's database. So I hope that made sense. And if you have questions around that, just go ahead and ask. Believe me, I've encountered that several times as well. So Don says, it might be worth a try since this one store is a really big deal to me. New York City. Oh, yeah, I know, Mysterious. They'll carry your book. Just let them know that IPG has an agreement with Ingram in terms of distribution, and give them all the key information, because it may be, again, that they've never heard of Running Wild, and so they're assuming that we're not, when you say, oh, I'm with a small press or an independent press, that means we're independent, meaning we're not with a major distributor, and that for them is a major concern. So Caroline says, yes, ran into a woman who is with a library here. She wants me to come to the library and give a reading as soon as mine comes out. Libraries are great. I completely agree. I adore libraries. I still remember when I was a kid, I lived like 2 blocks from a park, and there was this little tiny neighborhood library there, and I virtually lived there up until I think I was like, I want to say 11 or 12 when it burned down. So yes, I said, follow me around and things will burn down and rain on your head. So but yeah, no, I completely agree. Love libraries, and definitely reach out to them. A lot of libraries that have similar models that I just described as independent booksellers, where they only purchase from very specific distributors. So some may assume that if you are a local author, that you're independent, like you're fully independent. Again, you just may, if you're with us, right, either Rise or Running Wild, you may just want to let them know that, oh no, they actually are, we are with a major distributor. So hope that helps, guys. So cool. Well, it's, my gosh, it's already 5:32. Holy moly. Caroline says, or Dawn says, Caroline, I had my book launch at a library. Try it. It's a good idea. She also said, we have so many libraries here, and it is on the Cape, and readers abound. What's really awesome too, and this is just a suggestion, obviously you don't have to do it. If you have libraries like the Mysterious Bookshop that Dawn mentioned in New York City, you could, or that was just clearly not a library. I don't know why I said that. But anyway, let's say you have a major location that you want to have your book in. You may want to approach them with friends who are also authors, either who have a book coming out around the time yours is, or who already have a book that's coming out, and say, hey, we'd love to do a joint event, and be able to demonstrate that you have a following of some sort. And that could just be something as simple as you've got a Facebook page, you've got a website, you have like TikTok, so forth and so on, so that they know that you will actually promote the event itself. And because the more individuals that you have, and especially if you are friends with, or are, you have some kind of a relationship with somebody who's a better known author who would be willing to be a part of that event, that again is a huge selling point to those libraries and to those booksellers, because that implies that you're going to have a bigger following and a larger number of people who will actually show up. we actually did that. I think it was for our second or third short story anthology. We did a special event. I think it was at Book Soup here in Los Angeles, and actually a good number of our authors showed up, which was amazing because they were from all over the country. And we actually had a really decent number of individuals who showed up to it. And what was great about it too was it helped the authors expand their network and kind of get to know one another. And like we all went out for like dinner and margaritas, I think, afterwards. So, it's just a really great idea all around. So Caroline says, yes, lots of friends here who are writers and already hooked in. That is fantastic. Definitely leverage that, right? And you want to be, I'm always surprised by individuals who are protective of their stuff and who behave like, it's precious, or like they're the only ones who can do the event, or they're the only, like everybody's competition. I don't know about you guys, but I definitely read a heck of a lot of stories. So there's no need to be precious, right? There's no need to be protective of your work. If anything, we should all be out here to help one another and to look out for one another. Uh, that's that's of the greatest benefit, I think, to all, including to readers. So I don't know. What do you think, Peter? It's like blah blah blah. What?
Now, I think supporting other writers is extremely important, and the more writers, the more network, the larger the network that you can grow in different genres and different subject matters, the better off you'll be, because everything grows, everything branches out, from stores to libraries to independent stores. So, I mean, I'm all for networking.
Cool. How about you, Ben?
No, I agree. That's you look back at MFA experience. The writers that you're reading in class and workshopping their work. It's helping you be a better writer, because you're seeing, maybe you think what they did was a mistake or what they did was a strength, and you can shamelessly steal from them in either case. And it only enhances the work that you're doing and get you out of that protective bubble of this is mine, all mine, and I'm not sharing. But it's and you look back through history. I was thinking there's a reason that a lot of writers landed in Paris after World War I, and they were all friends. They may have they had some professional jealousies, of course they did, but at the end of the day, they were all friends, and you read about them and see the camaraderie. You need money, here's money. You need an idea for that ending, here's an idea for your ending. So they were helping and bouncing each other off. And probably one of the most famous periods in literary times, as far as the 20th century anyway. And so that kind of, I think we would all benefit from having that kind of network to bounce ideas off of, and trust the feedback, to trust it to be good or trust it not to be so good. Well, okay, at least if I need money, I know who to lend it from or borrow it from. Your literary advice is just, well, okay. But that's the circle of writers that I think we're all a part of. Sometimes we just don't know it or we forget it.
It's a good reminder that we're writers as well, because we're solo artists working by ourselves alone, and which is the same thing. But being around other writers enhances your imagination, and it's also so somewhat of a catalyst too, because if I've got a couple of writers from my class, my MFA class, that are doing extremely well, and I'm like, I was part of that class. I can still work. If I start working that hard or work a little bit harder, maybe I can get that kind of success too. So it emboldens you. They have the network, and the larger the network, as I was saying, the more opportunities you have to experience this.
And it's interesting because I was literally having a similar conversation yesterday with our agency, with Nicole from the Seymour agency, and a lot of this in the especially in the genre writing world, so much of this is, I hate to put it this way, but it's kind of like a popularity contest. But what I mean by that is there are so many brilliant writers out there that when you start looking at like who's winning awards or who's getting a lot of attention in terms of like speaking engagements at conferences and things like that, these people work their heinies off, not only in the writing, but also in terms of building out their network and getting their names out there so that they could then be made offers to do special engagements and so on. And I think a lot of writers forget that, right? Like nothing, at least in my experience, and I don't know, Peter and Ben, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too. Everything requires work. I don't know anybody who somehow just miraculously writes over 50,000 words and boom, suddenly, it's this huge bestseller, and they, they're selling millions, and they can just, sit back and watch the money roll in and then do whatever they want, and then all of a sudden they're being invited to all these events and stuff like that. I don't, and if that does happen, I think it's so incredibly rare that it's, less than 1%. And I'm guessing the majority of writers today, and unfortunately editors as well, they all have day jobs because you need health insurance, and the paycheck is not steady. Again, unless, I'm probably depressing every single person who's watching this, but it's because it all requires a lot of hard work, and you got to put in the work. So
you do. And that actually happened to a friend of mine. Like about 6-8 months ago, her book got picked up and just started landing on all these top 10 lists of national awards and national recognition and whatnot. And now she's in conference after conference. Her name is out there. The book is Sweet, Soft, Plenty Rhythm. It's a really good book. But she exploded. And then you look at other authors, they'll make, she's a fantastic, or this other person's a fantastic writer, but they're not getting any accolades. They're not getting any appreciation or recognition. So it's luck as well as perseverance. But if you don't have the perseverance, odds are pretty good you're not going to have the luck.
Ben, what do you think?
I think there's value in not being that overnight success. And it's the writer's life, the writer's world, the writer's experience of bonding with the work, because it is work. It's you enjoy writing, and but there's always that invisible audience out there that you hope to tap into one day and make them less invisible. And if it happens, great. But if it doesn't, you still have to know that is not what makes the writer. The writing makes the writer. And say, well, and that's I think it's a mistake of society to find out, oh, you're a writer or you're a poet. Have you published anything? And that's the next slide. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change the fact that I write, and because this group of people or that group of people have read it and carried it around in their briefcase because it's such a fine piece of work. That doesn't change the fact that it still came out of my head onto my paper and my ideas and my alone time in the dark and, to make it happen. That's the enjoyment of it, and I think that's sometimes forgotten with that striving for the fame. I think it was Capote that said, "More tears are shed over the dreams that come true." After he wrote In Cold Blood, it kind of fell apart because it wasn't the same anymore.
Well, because it's your expectation, you being the generic you, of what is going to occur once you hit that huge success. It never materializes, right? Because, we all have this idealization of what it means to be that kind of, like, to be the next Stephen King, right? Or to be the next Truman Capote, or to be the next Edgar Allan Poe. We all have what we think that means. And then there's what it really means. And then there's what that author, if you are modeling yourself after someone like that, there's what they experienced, which is something very different than what you're going to experience today, right? So, and I think too, so much of this is about what is it that you want? Meaning you as an artist, and whether people want to own it or not. Romance writers are artists, mystery writers are artists, thriller writers are artists, literary writers are artists. We're all artists in some capacity. We're all bringing craft to this. We are all working our heinies off, right? And it's just different, air quotes. It's different structures, it's different models, and some people are going to go into it like they're going to specifically focus on poetry because that is what they love and that is what like really guides them and drives them forward. Meanwhile, someone else is going to say, you know what I really want to do? I really want to, my dream has been to write for, weird tales for Blackstone. So I'm going to focus on that. And so everything I'm going to write is going to be modeled after stories that I've already seen within Weird Tales magazine, right? Or I'm going to sit there and I'm going to say, you know what? I want to be the next big and if they're smart about it, they're going to research the authors who've already been there and done that and identify what did they do? How did they do it? Who, because again, whenever someone's blown up, like the way Peter was describing, she's not just sitting in her living room and writing a book. She's out there doing appearances and a whole lot of other stuff to make this all real and making sure that it gets in front of readers. And some authors, that's what they want, right? They want that attention. They want to be out there. And others, they want to be in their living room or in their bedroom writing a book. And more power to them, right? I mean, just respect what each individual wants and help them get there, in my entirely too long opinion. Rod Gilly says, "Hey,
I
I'm
always
back."
thought Salinger had the right approach. Just write the book, then get out of the way, and let the book do the speaking. Anything you want to, any conclusion you want to make about Catcher in the Rye, go ahead and make it. I'll be out here in upstate New York somewhere.
Yeah, but well, that and he's, you got to be willing to follow it, right? Like we have authors who come to me all the time and they're like, okay, what do I do, Lisa, to promote my book? Well, we handed you a marketing plan. We handed you an author's questionnaire, right? We gave you all of these tools. Here's how we're putting the word out about your book. But you need to be willing to do, if that's what you want, right? If you want it to blow, if you want people to be aware of it, you have to be willing to make people aware of it. You can't just sit back and stare at someone and ask them randomly like, what you didn't read my book, why not? It doesn't work that way. So
it's something Peter said in one of our calls here. It's 5% of the work is getting the book written. 95% comes after that, and it's a great point.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's spot on. Caroline says, as a friend of mine on Martha's Vineyard once said, a writer writes. Some people simply want to have written a book, not write one. That's a good point. Holly Rose silently waves hello. Hey, Holly. Rod was wondering if he's missed anything interesting other than me just going off on a tangent. Probably not, and I wouldn't necessarily call that interesting. So again, guys, you've got us for about 10 more minutes, and then we're out of here until next week or next time. And if you are watching this and it is a recording, please be aware that we are here for you. We are here with you on Thursdays, 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. and we are the acquisition editors for Running Wild and RIZE presses. Running Wild, where we publish great stories that don't fit neatly in a box, and RIZE, where we publish great genre stories written by people of color and other underrepresented groups. And we are more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. And just even if this is not Thursday between 5 and 6 p.m. Pacific time or 8 and 9 p.m. Eastern time, it's not a big deal. Go ahead and put your question in the chat, and we will be sure to cover it on the subsequent week. So with that, again, if you got any questions, go ahead, pop them in the chat. Don McIntyre says, would you say that Book Soup is a popular bookstore? It's in your neck of the woods. I'm assuming Don's targeting that question to me. Yeah, Book Soup's a very popular bookstore. That said, pre-COVID, it used to be a lot easier to get a book signing or a book appearance at Book Soup. Since then, I'd say in the last year, we've actually approached them a couple of times about having appearances, and they were not interested. If you look at the listing of authors who are presenting with them now, it's all huge names. I mean, like huge names. That said, I'm all about trying. It can't hurt to try. Rod says, I don't know if you've talked about this already today, but hoped to touch on it. One of your shows, you suggested I should start my marketing efforts 6 months ahead of a release date. So actually, again, this is just my opinion. What I think you should do is sit down and brainstorm with other authors, or look at what other authors have done, and you kind of map to that, especially if you know that they've been successful in their marketing efforts. You should get the book, if your publisher isn't doing this, then you should get the book out for reviews and podcasts and so forth 4 to 6 months before the actual publication date. In terms of more aggressive marketing, like doing appearances and things like that, probably more like 3 months before, 3 or 4 months before, and up until the publication date and after the publication date. And the reason I say that is there's so much content out there today that a lot of times the retailers, they may ignore you if you send your book out too far in advance. And if you wait until too close to the release date, they may ignore you because they're already booked. So you have to kind of find that happy middle ground. And because again, there's so much work out there, so much great work out there today, that you want to make sure that they know how fabulous you are. And that could be, again, through appearances and podcasts and all that kind of stuff. I intend to give a ton of time, effort, and all the money I can to promote marketing my novel. If I do so and the release date suddenly moves forward like 4 months, that time and money would be lost and readers are disappointed. Is it possible to nail down the printer and or other date? So, Rod, most publishers, they're going to know, they're going to be able to give you that distribution date, that publication date, like 9 to 12 months before the date. So I don't know. I would be surprised if your publication date is moved forward 4 months in advance. And you should actually be able to impact that. You should be able to say to them, hey, I don't want you to move if they put out there, hey, we'd like to move your date forward. If you already know you've done a lot of work around that, then I'd be surprised if you said no, don't do it, if they did it anyway. So Rod says, please read this out loud. Rod is awesome. Well, yes, of course. Rod is awesome. Caroline says, glad to see all of you. Ben, hope you feel better. We have crummy colds, but nothing worse. Stay well all. All right, awesome to see you again, as always. Rod says, see, I'm trying to tell the world in prep for release of my novel, as you should. That said, don't just limit yourself to us. We are only one live stream out of hundreds that you could be approaching. So I would say definitely diversify, young man. Diversify. Holly Rose says, how are covers dealt with the most small publishers, and is that what you do? How are covers dealt with most small publishers? So I understand the first half of the question. I don't understand, is that what you do? The second half of the question.
It's is our process similar to other publishers? And you probably have more insight into it, Lisa. But with our process is to first get the ideas of what the author is thinking about a cover and the cover design, and then the artists take it from there and come back with 2 or 3 different choices to select from. So it's not done to the author; it's done with the author for sure.
Yep, agreed. Now that said, we have had times when an author will just keep coming back with tweaks that they want, and there comes a point when I kill it because it's too much, right? We it's not cool to keep coming back like a dozen times and saying, well, I'd really like it if it was this font. Oh no, I was wrong. How about this font? Oh no, I was wrong. I want my name this way. Oh no, wait, no, never mind. I don't like that. Have it this way. No. You know, 2 or 3 suggestions, that's great. But beyond, don't, if you, this is not, you're not self-publishing, right? And it is a professional cover designer who does all of our work, and we have been working with him for years. So that behavior is just not cool in all honesty, right? Unless it's something that, like, it's an actual typo, something like that, that's fine. And he is very, very generous in terms of trying to accommodate when someone comes back with like little suggestions. But there comes a point when it's like, mm-mm-mm. Now, that said, I honestly, I don't know what all publishers do. I know the author has no choice. Like you get what you get, right? I know in some cases they do actually go back to the author like we do and just ask, hey, if you could have anything, what would you want, right? If you come back to me though and say, I want a picture of me on the cover, and this picture, it's this specific picture and blah, 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 I might be a smartass and come back to you and say, then I think you need to self-publish, because that is not cool. That is not, that is definitely something you would do if you self-publish. If you are publishing with one of the major houses, you probably won't have any say in it. I mean, you might, but I'm just guessing that you probably won't. If you are publishing with a mid-size or smaller press and you're doing it as a part of a series, my guess is that you won't have a say in it. Uh, from what I understand, usually it's more so when the authors get better known, that's when they start having a greater control and more say in the actual designs. So Holly says, just one cover person does all your books. That's awesome for him. He is fantastic. His name's Amir. We've been working with him forever. So by some vast miracle, whenever we come to him with a cover idea, he comes back with 2 or 3 ideas that are like always stunning. I think he's amazing. So Rod says, an artist myself, I would send a concept art to the publisher's artist and say, do your magic. He wouldn't be in his job if he were bad at it. Well, Amir, no, he would not, because I'm picky. and I only hope that other cover designers are the same, and other publishers are the same, that they're picky and they really make sure they go for the best quality that they possibly can. So like your editor, gotta trust your artist to a point. As long as you know that this person knows their stuff, absolutely, you need to trust the artists. So and with that, we are just about at the end of the hour. I want to thank again Peter and Ben for being amazing and fantastic and for all you guys putting up with our incredibly elaborate, or possibly my incredibly elaborate answers. That said, we will see you guys again this time next week. Until then, have a fantastic week, and make your dreams true, man. And we will see you then.